it's time to crank up the truth. I'm Val Selby, and over the decades of working online, I've learned a most important lesson. Mindset owns your business. If procrastination, imposter syndrome, and a lack of focus have been blocking your biz, then I'm here with Valful Volume, ready to help you see the choices that you're making. Get ready to own your personality and use your expertise to create the business of your dreams. Now is the time to make changes and live your best life. So let's get to it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Valful Volume. I'm Val. I'm excited, extra excited today because I got a guest. You're probably excited too, aren't you? Because you don't have to just listen to me this time. So I just want to introduce my friend Nadia is here to talk about whatever we're going to talk about. We are like not even writing the script of what we're going to talk about at all. We're leaving it totally open. I'm squirreling right now. Nadia, thank you for being here.
Hi, Val. Hi.
I'm like starting off with a squirrel from the beginning. So Nadia, before you and I just start having a conversation on our own, can you tell the listeners about yourself, please, and about your business?
Yeah, sure. I am Nadia Arbach. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I run 4 different businesses, and I will just tell you their names and what I do in each of them. So my first current business I opened in 2015, and it's called Clear the Decks, and in it I am a professional declutterer and organizer. I used to go into people's homes, and now what I do is I create courses and resources for people to use online. So I'm not going into people's houses anymore to do that, but I'm teaching them how to declutter for themselves. And my second business is called Escape Rooms for Kids. I started that one in 2020, just as the lockdown started for COVID in the UK. And in that, I make educational printable escape rooms for kids based on school learning. And so I've had those 2 businesses for a while. This year, I opened 2 other businesses. One of them is nadiaarbach.com, where I help multi-passionate entrepreneurs declutter and organize their businesses. And the second one is Miss Fancy Plans, which is a PLR business where I create commercial use products, mostly planners and children's games, surprisingly.
Right. What you're already leaning towards.
Yeah, exactly. So those ones were started in May and June, respectively, this year. So I am, in my first year of business for those 2. And so my 4 businesses are like a giant Venn diagram that only I understand, where there are overlaps between various audiences, but not all 4 overlap all at the same time.
Right. But there are overlaps. And I know you and I talked about this previously. So what's been happening since then? Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
Nadia and I got together because she is multi-passionate and she has all of this stuff going on, and it's a lot. Even for somebody who's your business is decluttering, it's really hard to declutter ourselves.
Oh my goodness. You don't know this, but before we started this podcast interview, my camera was doing this weird swivelly thing. And if it swiveled far enough, you would be able to see the giant mess that's in my living room right now. Because not all professional declutterers are decluttered themselves or in any way, shape, or form minimalistic. And, I am certainly not one of the minimalist ones who is like totally organized all the time. So yeah, but let's go back to that talk about, we were talking, I think it was in May, and you'll notice that I introduced myself for nadiaarbach.com as someone who helps multi-passionate entrepreneurs declutter and organize their businesses. But in May, I would have said I help multi-passionate women work on the things that they're really interested in and not even streamline. I don't even think that I had the word declutter or streamline in there. And when we were talking in May, you were like, well, why don't you take your decluttering expertise and like apply it to your business for multi-passionate people? And I was like, Oh my God, why did I not think of that myself?
Because it's
How
right
did
here. That's the problem. When it's
I-
right here, we can't see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It was like I was in a silo. I mean, I'm like
Yeah.
my businesses were in silos and I didn't
Yes.
understand how to like make them correspond with each other.
Mhm.
And that was just like a totally eye-opening comment from you,
Mhm.
where in fact it caused me to completely change my thinking about that business. 'Cause I knew that I wanted it to be about multi-passionate people. I was primarily like gearing it towards women because that's who naturally gravitates towards me.
Mhm.
And because I'm like crafty and like making things all the time, and like you can see behind me, I've got my sewing cabinet there, when I was a declutterer, like I specialized in sewing rooms.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so like all of naturally people gravitate towards me who are multi-passionate, crafty type people.
Mhm.
And so, that's who I was gearing it towards. But actually, there's so many multi-passionate entrepreneurs out there, and I didn't even realize. But then, as soon as I looked for it, I was like, okay, this person has this as their main business that I know them from. But actually, they also have a blog, for moms, or they also have like a printables business, or they
Yeah.
also have this other thing on the side that they never talk about in the one that I'm hearing them
Yeah.
from. And
Exactly.
it was really interesting to see how many people actually do that. So yeah, I serve multi-passionate people. Most of them are women. And it was supposed to be, to help people understand that they could do whatever they wanted, all the creative projects that they wanted. But actually, it turned out to be a lot better focusing it on business and how you can declutter your business, because
Right.
decluttering is actually easier for me when it's digital. Much, much, much easier. Yeah.
I am going through such a um I don't I don't know if I'd call it decluttering, but a reorganization. I mean, I thought that my systems were pretty organized, and
Yeah.
now that I'm moving some things around, I'm looking at it going, now I feel like nothing is organized.
Yeah.
Rip and
Totally get
tear.
you.
Let's
Yeah.
burn it down and start from the beginning.
But that is part of decluttering your business. That absolutely is, because you're decluttering. It's not only stuff. It's not only like deleting emails. It's changing your ideas,
Mhm.
and being able to say, well, this idea worked for the last 5 years and I loved it, but it's not me anymore. And this is where I'm going in the future. And I can put that one in the past with lots of love. And, I don't do that anymore. And
I love that you're
yeah,
bringing this up
yes.
because letting go
Hmm.
is so important when you are into so everybody here, I mean, some of you might know I had my valselby.com, which was my coaching website, and I had Bundle Bash that I'd started with a partner. And when I took over Bundle Bash, I was just like, oh hell no. Absolutely hard no. And it was easy to mesh, right? I mean, wasn't different topics, so pretty easy to mesh. But I do have other websites out there,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I've had to just set them aside, you
Yeah.
know. And they call to me. Call
Yeah.
to me a lot. They're like, "Come on back. Come on back. Don't you want to work with us?" And for me right now, that's just a hard no.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that is because it doesn't mesh. Like I could witness yours meshing
Hmm.
together.
Yeah.
So when you're creating something or working on something, it is like a twofer or
It's exactly a twofer or a threefer sometimes.
a threefer sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if I am creating like a kid's activity, you like right now, they're not escape rooms. Right now they're word searches with hidden messages in them. And if I'm creating that for my escape rooms for kids, then I'm for sure going to make a PLR version as well, so that other people can buy it from me and use it in the way that they want. And so it is a twofer.
Yeah.
And in the same way, like the decluttering stuff that I do for my like personal decluttering business for which I have like a trademarked framework that I trademarked a few years ago. And we can talk about that if you want.
Yeah.
And I then apply the same thing to business decluttering because it actually works perfectly either way, because it's not like a framework or a system for like you do this first and then you do this and then you do this, because I don't like that kind of step by step thing.
It doesn't
Like,
work.
it doesn't work. I
It
like to
doesn't
think
work.
about, yeah, it doesn't work at all for me. It doesn't work for a lot of people. For me, it's all about your mind and what your mind is doing. And so there could be, you could have the same object in your house that somebody else has in their house, and it's clutter for both of you, but for completely different reasons. And it's same likewise for business. You could have the same, say you bought a course and somebody else has that course, and for both of you it's clutter, but it's for a completely different reason that it's clutter. And so when you think about the reasons for the clutter and the habits and behaviors that brought that clutter in or that prevent you from letting it go, that's what interests me. I love just thinking about human behavior, why we do things. And if you don't understand why you have something that's clutter or why you can't bring yourself to let it go, then it's not going to go until you understand why. So it's all
I
about
have
the
been
why.
ripping and tearing my emails. I have been unsubscribing like an insane woman.
Yes.
And some of them have been tough because
Mm-hmm.
some of them I'm like, but I bought a product from them. And what if I never hear from them again? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
are you using the product right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Unsubscribe from
Mm-hmm.
everybody.
Yeah, unsubscribe. I've been doing it myself lately. I mean, I do it every week or so. And I unsubscribe to people who I really love
Yeah.
and who like are, they write great emails. They
Mhm.
are like they're sometimes they're my business buddies.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like people that I really highly respect. But, I can't use their emails right now. I
Yep.
can only use a certain number of emails, and
Yep.
that I can't be sentimental about it. Otherwise, I'd be having like so much stuff come into my inbox all the time. And
I
so,
love that idea, and I think it's so important for people to. So, what tips would you ask people? Words. What tips would you give people for working on getting rid of those kind of emails?
yeah,
Because that
okay.
is a mindset thing.
That is a mindset thing. And that is actually like one of the 7 clutter triggers, which is my trademarked framework. And that is the third clutter trigger, which is called sentimentality and nostalgia. And basically, it is like you're keeping stuff that your business buddies made, like a template or a course or something, or things that you've been using for a really long time and you feel very comfortable with, and you really loved when you started working with it, but it's not the right thing anymore. And those courses, like, you love the people who made them, but they're not going to serve you right
I
now
feel
in your
so called
business.
out right now.
No,
Called
I'm
out.
not calling you out. Every
Oh, no,
time
no,
this,
no,
I have
no.
like,
You're
I
you're
have all the
speaking
clutter
right
triggers.
to me, and I
Hmm.
feel like I want to like push pause, and I'm just gonna go and like unsubscribe from a bunch of more people because
Yeah,
that's the only reason I'm following them. I mean,
yeah.
it's friendships from decades,
Friendships from
decades.
decades. It's okay. So what you have to remember in that case is you don't love them any less because you're not reading their emails right now.
Right.
You can communicate with them whenever you want, not by
Yes.
receiving their emails. And
Yes.
they don't care that you are unsubscribing from your emails because one, you're saving them money in the form of one customer that less that they're paying for in case they're, going over some kind of threshold or
Yeah.
something. But also, like, they don't want people who don't open their emails, because that actually is going to skew their data
Yeah.
in a way, like if
Yeah.
you open it but never click on anything, or if you never open it, either way, you are
Hmm.
causing whatever their numbers are to be slightly different from what they actually anticipate them to be. So
It hurts their
it hurts.
deliverability. If we're
It does.
constantly just
Yeah.
deleting their emails, it hurts
Yeah.
their email deliverability
Yeah.
overall.
Exactly. So you're doing them a favor if you're
Yeah.
not really going to read their emails. You can always go back and resubscribe. It's not like they're going to
Yes.
disappear. And
Yes.
you're going to see those people in other contexts. And, if you want to collaborate with them, which is what you're all about, Val. So, if you want to collaborate with them, then you can do it in that way. So you don't have to be sentimental about, something that they are creating, not specifically for you. And you can feel free to unsubscribe or trash that template that they made, or get rid of your login to the course portal that your course is on that they made, or whatever. It doesn't mean you love them any less.
Right. And there's like you said, there's so many ways, and especially for quite a few of these people that I'm thinking I'm going to go unsubscribe from right now. How many of them do I even have their actual phone numbers? So I could be texting them, and yet here I'm holding on to this being on their email list.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to hurt their feelings. I
yeah.
don't even know why.
Yeah, I mean, you could be holding on because you don't want to you don't want to hurt their feelings, and you're not going to hurt their feelings. You're the only one who's thinking about that right now, and
Isn't that fun? Yes.
yeah, there are plenty of other reasons why people don't unsubscribe, like FOMO, for example. If you're missing out, that's not the sentimentality and nostalgia clutter trigger. That is more of the I think that one would be the over accumulating clutter trigger, where you just like want all the stuff and you're afraid to miss out on, whatever sale there is or freebie they're gonna give you or whatever.
Yep.
And in that case, what you need to remember is that there are always going to be more. Always going to be more. Like if you didn't open your emails for a week, then next week you're going to get more different sales and different freebies. Because the online world is creating stuff at such a rapid pace that, like there's always going to be something. And it
saves us a ton of money.
It does. Yeah.
It saves a ton of money. One of the things that I know I did with my emails is I have like a PLR tab, or not tab, but category. So and then I put everybody that I know as PLR providers in there. And then I have another tab or a category that I know, it's just things that I buy. I don't really get education from them, right? It's just my fear of missing out. And I put stuff in there, and if I don't check that for a week or so, I save so much freaking money because I'll have missed the sale.
Yeah, exactly.
And guess what? Life didn't end.
Life is not going to end because you missed a sale. That thing will be on sale again, or a better one will come along and it will be on sale too. And people just keep making more. And that's what we do. Like we are on a creation train of digital products. There's never going to be a dearth of digital products ever. And if you miss out on it now because you didn't actually really need it right now, on the day that you actually need something and you're looking for it, you will be able to find that thing.
Yes. And I know one thing that somebody told me a really long time ago, so I try to pull it back into my head at times, but I'm a hoarder in certain areas. I own it. But I guess a lot of the times it would be for subscriptions, and I wouldn't want to get rid of the subscription because I was like founding member and I was at such a low price, right? And it's like, well, but how long have I been paying for it and not using it? And somebody had told me once, when you're actually going to use it, it'll be worth paying full price.
For sure. That is such good advice. I love it. And I myself have, unsubscribed from a couple of subscriptions that I started this year with a lower price, thinking I actually haven't used it in 5 months. And so it actually hasn't been worth the value for me. Not that the product, and this is very important, not that the product was not valuable. It just doesn't serve me right now in my business. So clutter is not it doesn't mean it's a bad product. It just means it doesn't serve you.
Yes.
Where you want to go and what your goals are, like in the next very short time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can look in my Canva and see how much of a, I mean, I've been using PLR for over 20 years. It's since
Yeah.
the beginning of PLR. And now with the Canva, I mean, I find these great subscriptions and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get in this. And then they're loaded in my Canva and they might even be in folders, but guess what?
Hmm.
They just sit there and
They
look
just sit
pretty
there.
behind a folder.
Yeah. And you don't make a product with them. You don't use them for freebie or anything. So
No, no.
yeah,
It's clutter.
it's clutter.
It's
Yeah.
clutter, and even if we're not looking at it, it's still there.
Yeah.
So, how
Yeah.
did you come up with your format?
With the 7 clutter triggers framework,
Yes,
I
your framework. Sorry.
it is something that I observed when I was going into people's houses. Like when I started out, it was 2015, and I did it solely in people's houses for 3 years before I actually moved online. And those 3 years, like going into people's houses, I would hear the same words over and over again, over and over again. And the phrases kind of like indicate this person has this clutter trigger. So if you say, but it's perfectly good, or it might come in handy one day, that is the scarcity thinking clutter trigger. And
That's my dad.
so many people have, that's my dad too. So many people have that. And a lot of the time it has been instilled since childhood, by some relative who's older, who maybe actually lived through hard times themselves and actually did need to like save money and, make do with whatever the thing is. But if you don't, and even if you do, like you don't have to be thinking that in that same manner. I know things are scarce sometimes today for people, but the scarcity thinking is not conducive to,
Right.
like having what you actually need. So,
Yes.
so if it might come in handy one day, that was like the watchword for, scarcity
Yep.
thinking.
Trigger word for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Or, like I started it, so I better finish it is the sense of duty clutter trigger. So,
Oh, okay.
because you have probably got unfinished projects in your
Yeah.
Canva where you were going to make a
Oh, yeah.
product and you got sort of partway through and then you let it go because it was not
Hmm.
the greatest, or you found something else that you had to do right then, or
Yep.
that you were more interested in doing, or that became a better product than the one that you
Yep.
were originally working on.
Yep.
So those ones, like we have a sense of duty to finish them. It's like clean your plate, you have
Yes.
to, you're being sort of school marmish with yourself and saying, you better finish your work instead
Right.
of like, okay, this project didn't work out as well as the one that I actually finished. So I'm going to let this one go. And, people, clutter is not just stuff that we got from other people. It's stuff that we make ourselves too. And if we have unfinished projects that are lying around and then causing that low grade anxiety about when am I going to finish that thing? Um,
I'm getting it a little bit right now. Obviously, you
yeah,
hit me. Okay, so when you say let it go, are
yeah.
you saying what I think you're saying of go and frickin' delete it?
I'm saying circular file. Yes, garbage
Right,
can. Yeah, for
right.
sure. Put it in the garbage
Okay.
can. You know what? It's so much easier to declutter digital stuff because you don't actually have to go to the dump. You don't actually have to put it out in a garbage bag on the street for like somebody to pick it up. You don't have to put it in the recycling. You can
Hmm.
just, it's so easy. You don't have to move. You just like move it over to the little trash can in the corner.
Physically, it's easy.
Physically, it's
Physically,
easy.
it's easy.
Yes, physically it's easy. It poses no problems after it's done, right?
Yes.
And half the time, you can get it back if you want to.
Right.
Like the garbage can itself, the trash can on your computer is like permanent delete. But if you were trashing, say, a template or a PDF that you got from somebody else, your email probably still has the link to go get it again if you ever need it. You
If
probably
I
will
ever
never,
remembered what it
you
was called.
well, this is the other thing. Okay, Val, I'm going to tell you a secret now that all professional declutterers know is the 95% rule. And when I used to belong to the Association of Professional Declutterers and Organizers in the UK, when I was working in people's homes, we all agreed on this. 95% of the time, when you get rid of something, when you finally like let it go, and trash it or recycle it or send it to the dump or put it in the circular file or whatever. You will never think about that thing again,
Right.
ever. You'll never
Yeah.
think about it again.
Yeah.
5% of the time you'll think, oh man, I wish I hadn't thrown that away. Or, oh man, I made a mistake. But,
Yeah.
you know, part of that time you'll be able to get it back or get a suitable replacement. And, you know, 95% of the time, to be correct about, you know, it wasn't worth anything, that's an excellent, you know, those odds are good, right? Right? So, like, you know, if you are hesitating about getting rid of something, I'm going to tell you 95% of the time, you're never going to think about that thing again because you have better things to think about. You have better things and more exciting projects to do than the things that are sort of mediocre and ho-hum, and you could get away with not doing them ever. Yeah. You have better stuff to do. You have like,
well, and obviously it's ho-hum, or otherwise
yeah.
I'd be excited and digging into it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, good. So I come from hoarders for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And they're older,
mm-hmm.
like you said. They came from, you know, parents, the poverty mindset, all of that kind of stuff. They traveled a ton,
mm-hmm.
so for them to have their stuff was huge. So for me, I'm working through the fact that, oh my gosh, I'm not as bad as that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if you were talking about like hoarding disorder or if you're talking about kind of like pack rat kind of, you know, keep everything, but if
border.
It's border. Okay. Because
it's pack rat, but I can't get them to throw away anything.
Yeah.
So I think we might be borderliner.
Yeah. I think the distinction, and like, don't quote me on this because I am not one of the professional declutterers who actually works with people who have hoarding disorder, although I have a couple of times. And that was extremely difficult because people with hoarding disorder that is recognized by, I can't remember the book, you know, that has all the psychological and psychiatric conditions listed in it. I can't remember the name of it. It's listed now, and it wasn't before. And so that is a known condition. And somebody with hoarding disorder will get extremely upset if things are gone. And the types of things that they collect are things that would have very little value at all, you know. And so that's not the same as somebody who likes to keep stuff because it might come in handy one day, or because they, you know, fear having to rebuy it sometime and not having the money. That is a different thing.
That is a different thing. Then I will stop calling my parents hoarders.
Yeah,
they are not like that.
Yeah,
everything they have could technically be used for something.
Yeah,
sometime, somewhere.
Yeah, they're
in the year 1942.
They might be extremely frugal and very careful and very mindful of things, and not like to part with stuff. But if it was all gone, they would not really have like a terrible psychological reaction.
Correct. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, I mean that makes it a lot easier to get rid of things if you need to, right?
Oh, it does.
It does.
I do sometimes.
Yeah. And I don't know if there is such a thing as hoarding disorder when it comes to digital businesses. I've never seen it. I don't know. And if somebody had hoarding disorder in life, in their actual house, I mean, people with hoarding disorder actually, like, sometimes you would never know because they go to work and they're very organized at their work desk. And so you wouldn't know. So it's only a home thing. I think it has more to do with physical objects than anything else.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah, that's not my forte anyway. So, yeah, but definitely the thoughts of, you know, it might come in handy one day, that totally, like, it comes into play a lot, actually, if you are a, like, beginning business owner, for sure. If you are, like, in your first year of business and there's bundles galore with stuff that you can get for free or cheap, and, you know, you
need to learn all
to learn all the things, and you don't know which things you don't know. So you're downloading stuff right and left because
Yep.
it's so like fun to, have this entire library of stuff, but then you get overwhelmed by it. And that's the kind of like, it might come in handy one day that you can actually like pare down. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I had 2 businesses before and I let them slide for a while. And so I repicked them up at the beginning of this year. And then I added those other 2 in May and June. And so I considered that this year was my first year in business, I was a newbie because everything had changed since the last time. It was my first year in business. And I had never, seen bundles before in this kind of way. And like I accumulated so much stuff. I had 585 downloads in 3 months.
Gosh.
I know, right?
Oh,
I like I said, I am not a minimalist. I have a lot of stuff. Sometimes it gets disorganized, but I can organize it and I can declutter. And I know the tricks that my mind plays on me because I know which 7 of the 7 clutter triggers I have that's working up here, and I know what the tricks are to overcome those.
And I think that this is really important, what you're talking about right here. Just because we as coaches, mentors, whatever we want to call ourselves, have a specialty, it doesn't mean that that's not something that we have. In fact, it's usually the opposite, right? It's like we are good at helping other people through a lot of these things because it's what we freaking go through.
Oh, yeah.
And we just constantly have to keep perfecting and fixing ourselves.
Yeah. And we're just
like, I can see it in you all day long, girl, because I know it's right here.
Yeah. Exactly. We're just a few steps ahead of the people that we're serving, right? And I have to tell you, the way that I became a professional declutterer in the first place was because, see, this is my sewing stuff. I got totally into sewing when I worked in a museum. It was like one of the big museums in London. And we had a quilts exhibition. And I got super excited about, starting quilting. And I had these, I bought everything. And I had all these projects in my house. And then one day my landlord phoned and she was like, I'm around the corner. I'm coming in 10 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, look at the mess in here. I don't know what to do. Get me a bed sheet. I'm going to throw it on top of everything on this table. And I did that. And I still don't know what she thought was under there, but it was this giant mound of crap with a bed sheet. And I was so embarrassed. And and then I read Marie Kondo's book. And I can't remember the title of it now.
I can't remember
There's
it
something,
either, yeah.
something joy of studying that I don't know. I can't remember. But I did that in my house. I Marie Kondo'd my house. And I thought, my God, I'm good at this. And everybody had always asked me to help with them with that anyway, despite the fact that I could not do it for myself, apparently. But I was very, very good at helping other people get rid of stuff. And so I thought, you know what? I could actually make this a job. And in my Facebook feed just this week, I found a thing from 12 years ago that I wrote where I wrote, I just decluttered my entire house. I love this. I could make this into a job. And there we go. That's what I've been doing since 2015.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, how amazing.
Yeah.
See, that's part of the things that I love is figuring out the expertise in people that they're so close to it. They just can't even figure it out.
Yeah.
I love it when people find it out for me too. You know what I mean? It's it's right here.
Mm-hmm.
You do it all of the time.
Yeah.
It's easy for you.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the tough thing is when something's easy for us, we still have this mindset that, well, Jesus, that can't be a job then, or can't make money at it. It's just easy. It's just what I do. I help my friends,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, things that come with ease, that's what we should be looking at, to incorporate at least an element of those into what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I couldn't see it until you told me. I couldn't see it. And so I'm glad that you told me. It's
I'm glad that it's working. I love it.
I mean,
you've already got this framework that's in place, and all
Yeah.
you had to do was some tweaking
Hmm.
to turn it into the same thing that we are all doing with our online world
Yeah.
and our online businesses. So, how do you help people with that online right now? How are you helping people
Well,
with
I
their
always
businesses?
start with courses, right? Courses and like printable products. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I have a course about decluttering your Canva using the 7 clutter triggers framework. I
Mm-hmm.
have a bundle and summit sign up planner so that you don't over accumulate things from
Mm-hmm.
bundles and summits, which we are all
Mm-hmm.
guilty of.
Yep.
And then I also have things where I help people one to one. So I have decluttering strategy sessions for your business.
Nice.
So people can like just get on a Zoom call with me and we can discuss what they need to declutter the most.
Right, right. So we'll do a little bit of coaching right here. So do you have VIP sessions where you're going to be like, you guys are getting into Google Drive and you are watching them and hand holding them while they're going in there and deleting and moving stuff around, or
I have had sessions where I do that with Canva.
okay.
Where like, we talk about, and we've screen shared so that I can see their Canva.
Uh-huh.
I haven't done it for Google Drive. I can do it for Google Drive though. Like I could do it for anything. It could be your
Mm-hmm.
desktop, it could be your file system, it could be Canva, it could be any other kind of like organization system. But the important thing to know is that decluttering is not organizing. Organizing has to come
Okay.
after, right? You don't
Okay.
organize first. Otherwise, what you have is like you have some beautifully named folders with some beautifully named stuff in
Here she
them.
goes calling me out again.
Those things don't get used, right? It's like the same as like if you went
Right.
out and bought a new piece of furniture that was a chest of drawers and you had all these beautiful clothes that were folded and ironed and looked really pretty and you put them in, but they were the wrong size and
Yeah.
you're never going to use them and they don't fit and they don't suit you. And so
Yeah.
that's a waste of space in both the drawers and the clothes themselves. And it's the same thing for the filing system with the stuff in it that's properly named and sorted and put in the right place so you can find it, but you're never going to use it. So
That is very true.
yeah, what you have to do is declutter first,
Yeah.
then organize. And
Okay.
decluttering can be a super messy thing to do, as anyone knows who has taken all the clothes out of their closet and thrown them on the bed to see which ones they need and which ones they don't. It gets worse before it gets better. So, like if you are decluttering your Canva, you're gonna make a big mess first. And,
Okay.
but what you want to do is get rid of the things that you don't actually need to rename and put in a folder because you're not going
Mm,
to use it. And so I would say pare it down first, then you see what's left. Then you can figure out what a good organizational system is to fit those types of
yes.
things that you still have and want to use.
That makes sense. So I'm just going to call myself out, listeners, here right now because it just dawned on me. I did my full rebranding at Bundle Bash,
Hmm.
sometime at the beginning of the year, and I still have all of the old branding, and it's in very nice folders
Hmm.
that we created. We were so proud of creating those folders because we never were that organized before, right? And I'm like thinking, why do I have those?
Yeah.
Why? I'm never going to use that
Sentimentality and
branding again.
nostalgia, Val.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm like,
Hmm.
why are those 14 folders projects still sitting in there? Yeah, where's my post-it notes? That's getting deleted immediately too. I'm gonna be deleting all over the place. It's
Yeah.
gonna be declutter heaven.
Yeah. The more you delete from the past, the more you can go forward into the future,
Yeah. Yeah.
because your mind is not full of other stuff that's taking up space. Your mind only can hold up, a certain amount. And you want,
Plus decluttering, here's a positive from the decluttering. When you're decluttering, you might find stuff that you actually do want to use and
yeah, that's right.
terrible, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, going behind a piece of furniture and thinking, oh, this fell here like a year and a half ago and I was looking for it and I didn't know. And, you find this thing that you had been looking for or that you didn't remember that you had, but it's like useful now. So yeah, there are some, good Easter egg type things like that can happen. But most of it's going to be just straight up, I don't need this. I'm going to throw it away.
95% of it, as a matter of fact.
Yes, in fact.
95%. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nadia. Everybody, I hope you got some tips just from the fact that, I'm going to go make a lot of changes and we're human. And this is a process that we will always have to go through, right? Because we have our reasons why we start collecting things.
Yes, absolutely. Can I just interject here? Because I forgot to say, one of the most important things is to be kind to yourself and, to not berate yourself for having so much clutter, because some of the time, most of the time, when I would go into people's houses or when I'm talking to somebody online, the first thing they say is like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I have so much stuff. And you don't have to be, you are in the process of decluttering. You can be kind to yourself like you would be to a friend. You would never say to a friend, man, you've collected so much stuff. What's wrong with you? Right? Yeah. You would not say that. And you don't have to say it to yourself either. You are doing a good thing by just trying to let go of as much stuff as you can. And sometimes it's not going to work and sometimes you're not going to be able to. And that's okay too, because you will have done some, and everything that you do is a step forward. So you're not getting mad at yourself.
Very good. Yes. Every time you delete something, because we're pretty much talking the digital world, every time that you delete something, that's just one more bit of the process forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome, Nadia. Thank you so much. I am so excited for what you've got going on now and the products that you are creating. So everyone, if you would like assistance in your decluttering, jump on over to, it is Nadia Arbach, right?
NadiaArbach.com.
Arbach.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And that's going to be in the show notes, so you can go on over there and go and grab. I know I saw your freebie on there when I had it pulled up.
Yes, it's called Start Decluttering Your Business. And it's NadiaArbach.com/start-decluttering-your-business.
Yes. And we will have that down in the show notes so you can grab it quickly and easily and start decluttering as well. Because when we start decluttering, it's just going to help breathe. Yeah. We got enough to worry about, right? We don't need the crap.
Yeah.
We don't need the digital or the in-person crap. Just room for us. Thanks so much for being here, Nadia. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much, Val. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you today.